Man, I thought you'd be a smarter woman, being Nick's wife, but you're just hopeless. Nick sure did have a bad marriage, Mark said, chuckling. Now, hand over the checkbook. If you refuse, we're getting a divorce. All right, but you'll regret this. When I said that, Mark probably didn't understand the meaning. He smiled confidently and said, No, I won't. Mark is mistaken. Either way, there's no way he's getting his hands on a fortune, and I've come up with a good plan. It would be great if Mark could learn his lesson. I'm Karen, 35 years old. 6 years ago, I married my husband Nick and led a happy life. I always thought I would continue to live a happy life, but my presumption was shattered 3 years later. Nick died in a car accident. Since then, I've been devastated and unable to recover. Mark, who was Nick's best friend, supported me during this time. He took me out, recommended good movies, and did all sorts of things to cheer me up. Thanks to him, I was able to recover from the shock of Nick's death 3 years later. I'm really grateful to Mark. Then, one day, Mark suddenly proposed. Karen, will you marry me? Huh? I understand it's complicated because of Nick, but isn't it about time? You should think about your own happiness from now on. Indeed, 3 years have passed, and I feel like I've recovered from the shock of Nick's death, and that's thanks to Mark more than anything. I hadn't considered it until now, probably because I felt guilty about Nick, but if I were to be with Mark, would Nick be happy? I'll make you happy, not just for me, but for Nick too. Looking at Mark, who said this and looked at me straight in the eyes, I decided to trust him. Okay, I understand. Thank you. And so, I decided to marry Mark. In the beginning, my marriage with Mark was going very well. At Mark's request, I became a housewife and devoted myself to household chores. After work, Mark would always send a text asking, "What's for dinner tonight?" and rush home. Although it was my second marriage, my newlywed life was very happy. Mark often helped around the house on his days off, and there were no complaints. I was hoping that this happy life would continue, but the situation started to look grim after about 6 months. It was around 11 p.m. when Mark finally came home. Hey, aren't you late? I've always told you to let me know when you'll be late. There was a sudden invitation. What can I do? You could have just gone to bed first. You could have at least texted. I have to prepare dinner. It's not like it's a big deal. Stop nagging the moment I get home. He said that and went straight to the bathroom. His coming home late isn't just today. It's been happening lately all the time. Moreover, there's never any communication from him. Not even a phone call, let alone a text message. He says he's at a company social, but I wonder if he really has to attend. Even on his days off, he doesn't help around the house at all anymore. When I say to him, Mark, who's lounging around at home, "Hey, you should at least help out around the house on your days off," he doesn't bother to respond, saying, "Why do I have to tire myself out even on my days off? Isn't that your job? You're a homemaker, sort it out yourself." Among all these complaints, the one thing that is most troubling me now is our household finances. Our household budget is such that Mark gives me the remainder of his salary after taking his own allowance as living expenses, but recently the amount he's been handing over is steadily decreasing. This month too, the amount was significantly less, so when I said, "Hey, the living expenses seem a bit low," Mark replied nonchalantly, maybe it's less because I deducted the amount I gave to my mother." How much did you give her? About $1,000. $1,000? I told you last month when you gave her $800 that it was too much. We don't have that kind of money to spare, you know. If you deduct your allowance from that, we won't have enough for living expenses. It can't be helped if she says she needs it. Make up for the shortfall with your savings or something. What do you mean by or something? Why don't you get a part-time job or something? You're always just lounging around at home. You should do some work. The reason I became a full-time homemaker was at Mark's request. I was taken aback by Mark's harsh words, but I realized I really needed to get a part-time job to make ends meet. I reluctantly started looking for a job. I found a part-time job that would only require me to work for a short period of time, and I got the job there. The part-time job allows me to return home in the evening, so it was convenient. One day, work ran a little late, and when I finally got home, the front door was unlocked. When I curiously looked at the entrance, I saw that Mark was already home. "Mark, you're already home?" I called out, and he turned around in surprise, hiding something at the same time. "Wait, what did you just hide?" Nothing. "Liar, you just hid something." I snatched something from Mark's hand and saw that it was my bank book. "Huh? What were you looking at? Stop it." He grinned and said, "You've saved up quite a bit, huh? I had no idea. You're always saying we're short on money." "That's not it. This is..." "Well then, all that money should be transferred to my mother's account." "Huh?" "It's not, huh? It's only natural to entrust such a large sum to my mother." "Why do I have to give your mother my money?" "The wife's money is the mother-in-law's money. Don't you even know that? Hurry up and hand over the bank book." "Absolutely not. This is my precious money." "Just hand it over." I ran away from Mark, who was trying to forcefully take my bank book, and locked myself in the bedroom. While Mark was pounding on the door, he shouted, "Hey, you really are a money-grubbing woman. Hurry up and hand over the bank book." Who's the real money grubber here? The bank book shows a balance of $300,000. It was supposed to be hidden deep in a drawer, yet Mark rummaged enough to find it, which disgusted me. This money is sacred. It must never be spent. "Man, I thought you'd be a smarter woman, being Nick's wife, but you're just hopeless. Nick sure did have a bad marriage," said Mark, laughing. He can insult me all he wants, but he crossed the line when he insulted Nick, his best friend. That's when I realized I couldn't go on with this man. After some time, I heard the front door close. Mark seemed to have left. I exited the bedroom and confirmed that nobody was around. As I was pondering what to do next, all that came to my mind was divorcing Mark. If Nick saw me now, what would he say? With that thought, Nick's absence became overwhelmingly sad, and I started to cry. That's why this money must never be given to Mark. I put the bank book at once inside a locked suitcase. I waited for Mark to return, but he never did. Where could he have gone at such a time? Perhaps he gave up and went to drink. As the day turned into night without him returning, I ended up going to sleep. The next day, I woke up and Mark was still not home. I thought with a calmer mind than last night. There's no way I can continue to live like this. I don't want to hand over the bank book to Mark. He not only insulted me, but also Nick. I won't forgive him. For the time being, I packed only the necessary things. Right then, Mark returned home. "What? You're awake?" "Where were you?" "I went back to my parents' house. Just got back from the real estate agent." "Real estate agent?" "With your $300,000, I bought a new house for my mom. Of course, it's a new single-family home." "Huh?" "So hurry up and give me the bank book. If not, we're getting a divorce." "I understand." "Huh?" "It's a divorce, isn't it? I'm fine with it." "No, well..." Mark was taken aback. Did he think I'd hand over the bank book easily if he mentioned divorce? Okay, but you'll regret it. When I said that, Mark probably didn't understand the meaning of my words. He replied with a nonchalant smirk, "No way." Regardless, I went into the bedroom to get the luggage I had packed. Mark was mistaken. He probably thought that even if we divorced, he would get half of the property, about $15,000. But that was a mistake. Either way, there was no way Mark could get his hands on a large sum of money. However, just that was too light of a punishment for the insult he threw at Nick and me. And then I thought of a good plan. It would serve Mark right if he got a taste of his own medicine. I returned my bank book to the kitchen drawer, grabbed my luggage and said, "I'll mail the divorce papers later. Don't touch the rest of my things. I'll move them when I have time." Perhaps suspicious of my thorough preparation, Mark gave me a puzzled look, but I left the house anyway. I booked a room in a business hotel near the station and decided to spend about a week there. During my hotel stay, I found a rental apartment suitable for living alone. After finalizing the contract with the apartment, I immediately began moving. I returned to the house during Mark's absence in the afternoon to move my belongings, but when I checked the bank book I had left in the drawer, sure enough, money had been withdrawn, leaving a balance of $150,000. This was exactly as I had expected. Mark probably used half as his share and used it to fund the purchase of a brand new house for his mother, but he would regret that later. I got the divorce papers from the city hall, filled them out, and mailed them to Mark. However, even after a week and then 2 weeks, there was no sign of them being delivered to the city hall, and I couldn't reach Mark by phone. After insisting for a while, Mark finally picked up, sounding irritated. "Could you hurry up and submit the divorce papers to the city hall?" "Divorce papers? Oh, I'll submit them next week." "Get on it! And you withdrew money from my bank account, didn't you? That's illegal to do without my permission, you know." "Idiot, it's not illegal to withdraw money from a family member's account. Besides, half of it would be mine anyway after the divorce, so it's only right that I took it. I'm hanging up now." "Wait a minute." He hung up the phone just like that. But that was fine with me, because Mark had acted just as I had anticipated. A little while later, it seems Mark had finally submitted the divorce papers to the city hall. When I checked, Mark and I were officially divorced. A month later, I was at work. The company that had hired me part-time was hiring full-time employees, and when I applied, they accepted me. I heard a commotion near the company's entrance, and when I went to check it out, to my surprise, Mark and his mother were desperately arguing with the receptionist. I hurried over and exclaimed, "Hold on, what's going on?" When I spoke up, the two of them turned towards me with an incredible urgency. "Karen, we've been looking for you. Please hear us out." "Please, Karen, forgive us." As they started to loudly discuss right then and there, I somehow managed to calm them down, explain the situation to my boss, and we moved to a nearby cafe. "What is this about? I'm troubled if you come to my workplace." The two of them, with pale faces, began desperately explaining to me. "About the money I withdrew from your account. Turns out it doesn't qualify for property division. That money is..." I let out a huge sigh of disbelief. "That's what I've been trying to tell you over and over again. That was my separate property. It was the life insurance payout when Nick passed away." "We didn't know. We're really sorry. We'll try to return the money somehow. Can you not make a big fuss about this?" "You're right. You wouldn't want to make a big deal out of this either, right? Let's settle this amicably." "Is that all you came to say?" As soon as I said that, their expressions became frantic. "Just that?" "I already know that. When you withdrew the money from the bank, how did you do it? Don't tell me you think I didn't notice."
"Well, that's,
No, we had no choice but to do that because we needed the money." "It's likely this is what happened. You can't withdraw $150,000 all at once from an ATM. It would take too long. So they probably wanted to withdraw it from the counter, but in large sums, a power of attorney from the person themselves is needed. I assume my mother-in-law wrote that power of attorney, and she was probably the one who answered the confirmation call from the bank. In essence, my mother-in-law pretended to be me. This is a clear crime, and yet, even now, they were still trying to deceive me about it. There's no way I can forgive this man." Mark pleaded. "Please forgive me. Lawyers have been coming to the office. The stares from the employees are painful, and my boss is asking about the situation. My position is at risk. If anything else happens, I'll have to quit my job and I won't be able to find another one. Please, let's settle this out of court." "I was also told by my husband that we're getting a divorce. I was just blinded by the prospect of a brand new house. It was just an impulse." It's true that I managed to recover from Nick's death thanks to this man, so maybe I could forgive him if he was sincere. Yet, in the end, this man also insulted my beloved Nick. If it weren't for that, things wouldn't have gotten this bad. It doesn't concern me. The next time we meet will be in court.
"Wait, please, Karen."
"Karen, please." The two of them kneeled right there in the cafe, but I ignored them and walked out. In the end, they were the ones at fault. And ultimately, Mark and my former mother-in-law faced a large claim for damages from me, resulting in a huge debt. The $150,000 withdrawn from my account was returned to me by my former father-in-law out of his own pocket. The newly built house they had purchased was immediately sold, but it only covered a portion of the purchase price. Mark, of course, lost his job. In this day and age, he couldn't find another job and ended up living as a live-in security guard, eating cheap sandwiches every day and living hand-to-mouth while repaying his debt. My former father-in-law divorced my former mother-in-law. She rented a cheap apartment and lives a frugal life while doing part-time jobs every day. Meanwhile, I've been happily living my life, working steadily at my company. I'm back to being single after the divorce, but I believe it's just another part of life and I'm willing to start over. But recently, a wonderful man who is kind and caring has appeared in my life. I'm proceeding with this relationship cautiously so as not to make the same mistake, but I can't help but hope this is a good connection.